In the next hour, we journey from the birth of the universe to the digital age. A whirlwind tour of humanity's long road from stardust to civilization. This is the history of the world. Chapter 1. Before time began. In the beginning, before history, before memory, before even darkness, there was nothing. Not silence, not emptiness, nothing. And from that nothing, something stirred. A whisper, a tremor, a spark so small it might have been mistaken for the faint sigh of a sleeping universe. And then, a roaring birth, a flash beyond imagining, an explosion of light so bright it carved the first moment into existence. The universe was hurled outward in a storm of creation. Energy danced, particles collided, embraced, pushed, pulled, swirled. The great cosmic cauldron boiled, foaming with possibilities. Billions of years passed in the span of a heartbeat. From this expanding ocean of fire, matter began to gather. Clouds of dust, vast as continents, rivers of gas stretching longer than galaxies. Gravity, the invisible puppeteer, pulled threads of scattered atoms together, weaving the first stars. They ignited like lanterns in the void, each one a furnace, forging the ingredients of worlds yet unborn. Hydrogen kissed helium and birthed carbon, oxygen, iron, gold. Deep in this burning womb of starlight, everything that ever mattered was made. Stars died, new stars rose, nebulae billowed like cosmic gardens, blooming with color and shape. Galaxies spun their spirals in slow, graceful dances. In one quiet corner of one such spiral, so small, so unassuming, a humble yellow star blinked awake. And around that star, a child was forming. A blue child, a restless child. A planet whose bones were molten rock, whose breaths were toxic storms, whose surface heaved and cracked in violent upheaval. It was a place of fire, of lightning, of promise. Earth. She cooled, rains fell for ages, oceans pooled in her hollows, winds sculpted mountains and plains. The air changed, softened, matured. The stage was being set, and then, somewhere in the warm shallows of the ancient sea, something happened, a spark again, not of light this time, but of life, a fragile miracle, so small, so humble, yet destined to shape the cosmos more profoundly than any star. A simple cell, a bubble of chemistry, learning the secret rhythm of survival. It divided, multiplied, adapted, evolved. For billions of years, life hid in the sea, tiny, silent, patient. Time was its ally, mutation, its chisel, survival, its anthem. The earth spun, continents drifted, ice swallowed the world and melted again. Volcanoes belched their fiery sorrows, and life endured, not as a conqueror, but as a whisper. Not yet a kingdom, only a promise. And the universe watched, waiting for the creature that would someday look back at it and ask the first question, who are we? Chapter 2: The Coming of Many Forms. The quiet garden of early life would not stay quiet forever. From the single-celled architects of the ocean, complexity blossomed. Cells joined together in unions of purpose, teams, societies, nations of living matter. Learning to cooperate, to specialize, to grow into beings of wondrous variety. Then came the Cambrian explosion, a moment in Earth's deep calendar when creativity erupted. Seas filled with creatures of every shape imaginable, armored trilobites marching across the seafloor, spiky predators with jaws like nightmares, soft-bodied wonders drifting like living clouds. Life was dreaming now, dreaming big. Fish grew bones, fins hardened into limbs, eyes sharpened, teeth lengthened. Predators carved their kingdoms. Prey grew swift or clever or hidden. It was a dance as old as hunger itself. Plants conquered land first. A bold invasion, green tendrils creeping onto barren shores, drinking sunlight, turning rock into soil. Then animals followed. Insects skittered across the earth, amphibians emerged from the waves, reptiles slithered into deserts, forests rose like emerald cathedrals. And in time, the earth gave birth to giants, dinosaurs, the thunder lizards, creatures whose footsteps shook the ground and whose shadows darkened the sun. They ruled with majesty and ferocity, shaping ecosystems that lasted longer than the distance between the pyramids and the present day. By a factor of thousands, yet even kings must one day fall. 66 million years ago, the sky betrayed them. A rock from the heavens, a traveler from cold space, struck the earth with the fury of 1,000 nuclear storms. Fire rained, forests burned, oceans boiled. The age of dinosaurs ended not with a whisper, but with an apocalyptic roar. But extinction is also opportunity. In the shadows of fallen giants, small mammals crept forth, furred, warm-blooded, clever. They scurried, hunted, hid, thrived. Their children would spread across the earth, exploring niches untouched for millions of years. Among these children was a lineage of curious creatures who walked on 4 legs, then sometimes on 2, creatures whose hands grew skillful, whose brains swelled with potential. The primates, time sculpted them with delicate patience, eyes forward for leaping through branches, hands grasping for holding fruit, and eventually tools, brains keen for solving the puzzles of survival. In the great savannas of Africa, where forests thinned and grasslands expanded, one branch of these primates took a daring leap. They stood upright. Their hands became free, their gaze lifted to the horizon. Their future changed forever. They napped stones into tools. They controlled fire. They hunted together, shared food, protected young, learned from elders. They were many species: Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus. But they all carried the seeds of something waiting to bloom. And then, perhaps 200,000 years ago, in the cradle lands of East Africa, they arrived, Homo sapiens, humans, not the strongest, not the fastest, but possessed of something wholly new, a mind wired for stories, imagination, symbolism, learning, dreaming. They painted on cave walls images of hunts and spirits. They carved tools with precision. They honored their dead, wondered about the sky, feared the unknown, cherished community. Humans were not merely surviving, they were perceiving, and soon the earth would belong to them. Chapter 3: The Wandering Tribes of Early Humanity. Humanity's first chapters were written on restless feet. For more than 100,000 years, our ancestors lived as wanderers, children of movement, seekers of opportunity, followers of animals and seasons. They left Africa in waves, not as conquerors, but as explorers, drifting slowly like seeds blown on ancient winds. They crossed deserts, climbed mountains, walked through jungles, braved ice and snow. They followed rivers into unknown lands. They learned the taste of new berries, the danger of unknown beasts, the rhythm of unfamiliar skies. Wherever they went, they adapted. In Europe, they met the Neanderthals, cousins strong and intelligent, masters of cold climates. There were encounters, exchanges, unions. Echoes of those unions still speak in our blood. In Asia, humans met the Denisovans, another mysterious branch of our family tree. Their legacy lingers in the genes of peoples in Tibet, Oceania, and beyond. In Australia, the first humans arrived by sea, astonishing navigators who crossed waters no one had crossed before. In the Americas, humans migrated across land bridges and coastlines, spreading from the frigid north to the warm heartlands of South America. Everywhere humanity went, they changed the world, and the world changed them, skin darkened or lightened. Bodies grew tall or compact, cultures formed, languages, rituals, diets, myths. Each group, each tribe wove its own way of being human. But no matter how far they traveled, all humans carried common treasures: fire, tools, language, memory, curiosity, and above all, story. For in the flicker of the campfire at night, early humans found purpose in tales. They told stories of spirits in the mountains, animals with souls, stars that watched over them. They shared warnings through myth: what to eat, what to avoid, how to live. Story bound them, story taught them, story transformed them into something more than animals. Story made them human. Yet life was not easy. The world was full of predators. Lions, giant bears, wolves, saber-toothed cats. Weather shifted unpredictably. Food could vanish for weeks, but humanity endured. Guided by cooperation, tribes shared resources, hunters supported gatherers. The old taught the young brought new ideas. This unity would become their greatest weapon. Slowly, painfully, skillfully. They learned to shape their environment rather than be shaped by it. They crafted spears, bows, needles, clothing, shelters of skin and bone. They carved flutes from bird wings, the first music. They etched symbols into stone, the first writing in embryo. They painted stories onto cave walls that still survive, whispering across ages. We were here, we lived, we dreamed. And then, somewhere along humanity's long walk through time, a quiet revolution stirred. A revolution of seeds, of soil, of patience. The revolution that would end the long wandering and begin civilization. Chapter 4: The First Seeds of Civilization. Humanity's long dance with the earth was about to change forever, not in a blaze of battle, nor by decree of kings, but with a seed, a tiny, unassuming seed. In the fertile valleys where rivers kissed the land, humans discovered a secret older than memory, that the soil itself could be persuaded, that plants, when nurtured, would give more than they took. That the earth, if asked properly, would yield life in abundance. It was a quiet revelation, but it changed everything. The first farmers were not kings or priests or warriors. They were ordinary people with extraordinary patience, women who gathered grains and noticed which grew tallest, men who watched how floods left behind richer soil, children who followed the rhythms of birds and seasons. They planted seeds deliberately. They watered them. They protected them from animals. They waited. Waiting became civilization's first virtue. And in this waiting, a transformation bloomed. Wild grasses became wheat. Tough barley softened into food. Rice spread across wetlands. Corn swelled under the sun of the Americas. Humans no longer drifted like travelers on an endless road. They rooted themselves to the land. Villages formed, clusters of homes built from mud brick, wood and reeds. Families stayed in one place for years, then generations. Tools improved. Domesticated animals joined the human story. Goats, sheep, pigs, chickens, cattle. With farming came surplus. With surplus came growth. With growth came specialization. Some people became potters. Others became weavers. Some tended animals. Some crafted weapons. Some guarded the storehouses where grain was kept like treasure. Some told stories that explained the floods, the moon, the storms, the mysteries of fate. Human life had stepped out of the wilderness and into the dawn of complexity. But the price of this new way was steep. Farming meant back-breaking labor, risk, hunger if crops failed, conflict over water and land. Yet across the world, people embraced it. For the villages offered something new: belonging, stability, community. A chance to dream bigger dreams, near the great rivers of our world, especially the Nile, the Tigris and Euphrates, the Indus and the Yellow River. The small villages grew into towns, towns merged into cities, cities into civilizations. And within those early walls of mud and stone, humanity began to write its grandest chapters. Chapter 5. The first cities, the first gods, the first kings. As civilizations blossomed, humanity entered a new age. An age of walls and temples, of markets and armies, of laws and dreams carved in stone. And like the rivers they depended on, these societies flowed across the land, shaping everything in their path. Mesopotamia, land between rivers. In the cradle of the Tigris and Euphrates, people built cities: Uruk, Lagash, Babylon, each one a marvel of invention. Clay tablets bore the world's first writing, cuneiform, a system of wedges pressed into wet clay, capturing stories, trades, prayers, laws. In these cities, priests watched the skies. Astronomy was born. Mathematics emerged, not from curiosity, but from necessity. Measuring fields, tracking seasons, calculating tribute. Kings rose, some wise, some cruel, all ambitious. Armies marched, walls grew tall. Trade routes connected Mesopotamia to lands far beyond sight. And above it all, ziggurats climbed toward the heavens. Massive stepped towers, stairways for gods. Egypt, Kingdom of the Nile. Meanwhile, along the eternal Nile, Egypt crafted a legacy of awe. Every year, the river flooded, renewing the soil like clockwork. Life in Egypt revolved around this rhythm, predictable, powerful, divine. Pharaohs ruled as living gods. Their word was law, their will was eternal. Pyramids rose from the desert, monuments of such precision that modern engineers still marvel at them. Scribes inked hieroglyphs onto papyrus. Priests tended temples filled with incense, chanting secrets in sacred tongues. Egypt dreamed not only of life, but of eternity. The Indus Valley, the forgotten cities. Far to the east, the cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro thrived along the Indus River. They built homes with uniform bricks, streets aligned with mathematical precision. Drainage systems unmatched for thousands of years. They left behind no deciphered texts, only the quiet testimony of order, planning, cooperation. Their mystery endures. China, Dynasties of Heaven. Along the Yellow River, Chinese civilization took root. Dynasties rose, each claiming the mandate of heaven. the belief that rulers governed only with divine approval and lost their power when they lost virtue. They forged bronze, mastered silk, devised early writing, honored ancestors, worshipped spirits of wind, rain, and thunder. China's story would stretch like a dragon across thousands of years. Long, sinuous, powerful, the Americas and Africa, worlds beyond. Across oceans and deserts, other peoples shaped their own civilizations, carving terraces into mountains, building giant earthworks, constructing cities of stone and clay. In the Americas, early cultures like the Olmec carved colossal heads. In Africa, kingdoms formed near the Niger River. Nubia thrived south of Egypt, and ancient peoples laid foundations for empires yet to come, each civilization unique, each civilization necessary, each one a thread in the tapestry of humanity. A turning point. As these cities rose, something profound changed. Humanity began to remember, not through stories alone, but through writing. Symbols that carried meaning across generations, across landscapes, across ages. History was born. With it came kings and courts, armies and alliances, war and peace. Humanity's slow unfolding had quickened. The world was no longer a wilderness, it was a stage, and upon it stepped the empires. Chapter 6: The Age of Empires and Ideas. Cities grew into states, states united into kingdoms. Kingdoms expanded into vast empires that stretched across continents. Human ambition, once confined to the survival of small tribes, now reached for the horizon and beyond. But alongside armies marched something even more powerful: ideas. Greece, the whisperers of wisdom. In the rocky lands of the Mediterranean, small city-states like Athens and Sparta forged legends with every generation. The Greeks questioned everything: the nature of justice, the meaning of beauty, the shape of the cosmos. Philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle carved new ways of thinking into the human mind. Poets wrote epics of heroes and gods. Athletes competed in sacred games. Rome, the empire of law. Mathematicians discovered truths that still guide our sciences. And when Alexander the Great swept across the world, Greek culture, Hellenism, spread with him, blending with the civilizations it encountered. From a small city on the Tiber River grew a force that would dominate the Western world for centuries. Rome's legions marched with discipline. Its engineers built roads, aqueducts, amphitheaters. Its laws shaped governance for millennia. Rome absorbed cultures, languages, gods, transforming them and in turn transformed by them. But empires that grow mighty also grow fragile, and Rome one day would fall, leaving behind ruins, stories, and a legacy carved into the bones of Europe. The Middle East, birthplace of faith. In the deserts and hills of the Middle East, ideas emerged that would forever change humanity's understanding of the divine. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, three faiths born from the same region, each spreading across continents, shaping civilizations, inspiring art, conflict, devotion, scholarship, and the deepest questions about existence. These weren't just religions. They were worldviews that carried moral frameworks, philosophies of life, visions of justice. India, land of spirit and science. Across the Indian subcontinent, kingdoms rose and fell, while philosophies blossomed like lotuses in the monsoon. Hinduism offered cosmic cycles and infinite gods. Buddha walked a path of peace and taught millions to seek enlightenment. Mathematicians discovered zero, a concept that reshaped mathematics itself. India became a crossroads of trade, culture, spirituality, and innovation. China, the scholar's empire. Dynasties like the Zhou, Qin, Han, and Tang built a world guided by Confucius's teachings. Order, respect, harmony. The Chinese invented paper, compasses, silk, gunpowder, porcelain. Their bureaucracy became a model for governance. Their poets painted landscapes, not with color, but with words. China was an empire of intellect as much as of armies. Africa, kingdoms of gold and stone. Across Africa, empires flourished that Europe would not learn of for centuries. The gold-laden cities of Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. The scholars of Timbuktu, the stone towers of Great Zimbabwe, the warriors and traders of East Africa's Swahili coast. Africa's story is rich, deep, foundational, not a footnote, but a pillar. Ideas spread like fire trade routes, Silk Road, trans-Saharan paths, maritime networks, connected civilizations. Goods traveled, but so did stories, gods, diseases, technologies, philosophies. Humanity was no longer a world of isolated peoples. It was becoming a web, a world where a thought born in one place could ignite revolution in another. Empires rose, empires fell, ideas endured, and history marched forward, carrying humanity toward the age of exploration, discovery, conflict, and invention that would reshape the Earth forever. Chapter 7: The Great Human Mosaic. And so humanity stood at the threshold of something new. Cities had risen, kingdoms had formed. The great rivers had become cradles of civilization. But the world was far from still. Like tides shaped by distant moons, new forces were gathering. Tribes on horseback, prophets dreaming in deserts, sailors whispering to the stars for permission to cross abyssal seas. History was about to widen. The steppe storm across the endless grasslands of Eurasia, a place where the horizon looked like the edge of the world. People lived in motion. Their homes were tents. Their wealth was horses. Their kingdom was the wind. These were the riders of the steppe: Scythians, Sarmatians, Turks, Mongols. peoples bound not by walls but by speed. They were the storm that rolled over continents. Their lives forged a different order of world. Not built with stone, but with movement. Not measured by monuments, but by distance. They linked lands that had long seemed separate. Silk moved west, gold moved east. Ideas galloped faster than armies. And amid this world of hooves and horizons rose one of history's most myth-wrapped figures, Genghis Khan. A man born into poverty who united fractious tribes and unleashed a wave that reshaped half the earth. To some, he was apocalypse. To others, a bringer of law. To all, he was undeniable. Yet even the greatest storms pass. Empires shattered, tribes scattered, but the steppe remained eternal, a wide green memory of the world before borders. The age of prophets and empires. Elsewhere, new names were being spoken with reverence. In Arabia, a man retreated to a cave seeking peace and returned with words that would transform continents. Muhammad. From his voice rose a civilization that shone from Spain to India, carrying science, poetry, architecture, and the promise of unity. In India, devotion flowered into philosophies that would shape the hearts of millions. Hindu epics sung like rivers, Buddhist teachings spreading like lantern light along trade routes. In China, dynasties rose like constellations. Qin, Han, Tang, Song. Each brought its own brilliance: paper, gunpowder, porcelain, compasses, quiet revolutions that would eventually echo far beyond Asia. In Africa, kingdoms blossomed with majesty. Ghana, with its gold-ribbed markets. Mali, where Mansa Musa's pilgrimage dazzled the world with wealth. Great Zimbabwe, carved of stone that whispered of ancient engineering. Benin, whose bronzes gleamed like trapped sunsets. Everywhere, the world was not one story, but thousands intertwined. The expanding horizon. Then came the age of sails. For tens of thousands of years, oceans had been barriers. Liquid walls that separated cultures like distant dreams. But now they became highways. Portuguese caravels nibbled at the edges of Africa. Spanish galleons crossed the Atlantic with reckless courage. Arab traders had long mastered the Indian Ocean winds. Polynesian navigators had mapped the Pacific with nothing but stars and memory. And so the world began knitting itself together in painful, wondrous, irreversible ways. The Columbian Exchange fused continents. Plants migrated, animals migrated, diseases migrated. People were uprooted, reshaped, and, too often, broken. Empires expanded like dark shadows at sunset. Britain, France, Spain, the Ottomans, the Qing, the Mughals. Wealth and suffering grew side by side. The world became interconnected, but not yet equal. The age of reason and revolution. Then new storms erupted, not of swords, but of ideas. Philosophers whispered dangerous truths, that kings are not divine, that all humans are born with rights, that reason could illuminate like dawn. Revolutions ignited, American, French, Haitian. Some liberated, some descended into terror, all reshaped the political imagination of humanity. Factories rose like iron trees, steam engines roared, cities exploded with people and ambition. The Industrial Revolution was a miracle wrapped in smoke, lifting millions from poverty while grinding millions more in brutal labor. Children worked underground, workers organized, demanded dignity. Machines replaced hands, time itself became measured by factory whistles. History had accelerated. The century of fire. Then came the 20th century, a storm unlike any before it. Empires cracked, new nations burst into existence, old orders died screaming. 2 world wars ripped the earth open. Machine guns, gas, tanks, bombs, death industrialized. Yet even amidst darkness, seeds of hope grew. Human rights, democracy, international cooperation, the dream of a world stitched together by peace rather than conquest. But peace was fragile, nuclear shadows stretched across continents. Cold War tensions hummed like a live wire. Humanity stood constantly at the edge of annihilation, and yet we survived. The cosmic turn. Then, for the first time, humans looked back at Earth from space and saw it not as kingdoms or borders, but as a single glowing bead suspended in silence. A reminder, we are one species, one story, one fragile home. This shift, quiet but profound, changed everything. Computers emerged, first room-sized, then pocket-sized. The internet wove the world into a single web of thoughts. Science leapt forward: genetics, medicine, physics, astronomy. With each discovery, the frontier pushed outward. The present moment, a world in tension. Today, humanity stands in a paradox. We are more connected than ever, yet divided. More knowledgeable than ever, yet uncertain. More powerful than ever, yet vulnerable. Our challenges are immense: climate change, inequality, political fracture, rapid technological change. But our potential is just as immense. Never before have so many minds been able to share ideas instantly. Never before have we had the tools to cure, rebuild, explore, and imagine. Humanity is still writing its story, and the next chapter depends on the choices we make now. The thread that connects it all, when we trace the history of the world, from cosmic dust to consciousness, from nomads to navigators, from caves to computers, we discover a single, unbroken truth. We are the universe becoming aware of itself.
Seconds into the flight. The 3 liquid fuel main engines soon will throttle back to 72% of rated performance down in the bucket, reducing the stress on the shuttle as it goes transonic.
Our story is a tapestry woven from struggle and triumph, cruelty and compassion, extinction and rebirth. But above all, it is the story of endurance. We are the children of stars, the inheritors of thousands of forgotten dreams, the makers of tomorrow. And our greatest chapters remain unwritten.
Space Shuttle Discovery, taking the space station to full power for full science.
This is Mission Control System.
Program.
Roger, roll, Discovery.
Discovery's roll maneuver is complete. It is now in a heads-down position on track for its flight to the International Space Station. Discovery flying 365 miles per hour, 1.5 miles in altitude, 7 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center. Discovery's engines are throttling down as the orbiter passes through the area of maximum pressure on the vehicle.